going to get to know Danny a little bit more. Danny, are you excited to answer some questions?
Absolutely not.
Okay, because Danny, I have not. So usually we prepare for these podcasts, and Danny is not prepared because I wanted to see what kind of answers he has. So welcome to the show, Danny.
Welcome back. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Let's dive right in.
All right.
Okay, so can you share with us what initially drew you to the world of fitness and why you decided to do CrossFit as your main discipline?
Okay. Well, this is like two-parter then.
I like it.
For anyone who doesn't know, I've only been doing CrossFit since 2015, the end of 2015. Prior to that, I was an ultra endurance runner and triathlete for about almost a decade. Prior to that, what got me into all that stuff is I was in the military for a while, and
You were in the Navy, correct?
yeah, I was in the Navy. I was on USS Key West, SSN 722 out of Honolulu, Hawaii. So I was on a sub, and then inside there, I did different types of things, right? But in 2007, I got out of the military, and I decided I needed to stay fit, right? I had some, I didn't know what to. I just got out. I was deployed overseas. Literally, I was deployed overseas in July. They flew me back July 31st. I got out of the military August 4th, and so I got all my stuff together in 4 days. I just
Wow, that's
got out.
fast. Is it usually that fast?
No, it's not. It's supposed to be like that at all. But, it just turned it around. So I got out of the military. I sold everything I had. I had a duffel bag, and I had a car. And I flew from Hawaii to San Diego, met my girlfriend, who turned out to be my wife, right, later on down the line. And we drove down, and we just were in San Diego. So I was out there and I was like, I need to get fit. I need to do something. So I went 24-hour fitness, and I hated it. Hated everything about it. I just hated going, right?
What did you hate about it?
Just everything. I didn't know how to use machines, right? I didn't want to use machines. I didn't want to use half the weights. I didn't want to do any of the stuff, any of the classes. I hated the people that worked there. I hated the people that went there, right? I mean,
you really did not like it.
I did not like it. But for like $14, right? And my girlfriend was working out there, so I was like, "Let's go!" Yeah, she wants to work out. I'll find something to do.
Yeah,
and I was miserable. Just despised it every day. I just refused to go. I'd rather go outside and run, and that's what I would do every day. I would go run like 5-6 miles, and then I'd go go to work or whatever, and then we'd go to the gym afterwards or something, right? And I kept that up until I eventually moved back to Hawaii. And then when I went back to Hawaii, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to the gym. And she's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm just going to run. And so every day I would go out and run like somewhere between 5 to 7 miles, like no plan. I'd just go out and run, just hope to God I make it back. And then I would come back and I would just do push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups until I was tired. And that's all I would do. And I did that for a long time. I fell into like running because somebody was like, why don't you run a marathon? And I go, what's that? And they're like, it's like 26.2 miles. And I was like, okay, I can do that. That's easy. So I just...
Were you always kind of built as a runner?
Yeah, I was always a pretty lanky kid.
Okay.
Like, I grew up playing like sports, but I was a military kid. So in the military, all you do is run, and all you do is care about is like rucking and things like that. And I did that all through high school. I went to like a military style high school in Texas, and that's all I did. And I played, we played sports, but I could care less about sports.
Yeah.
Right. And so the military, like all I did was run, and that's how we passed time. That's what our fitness test was. Like, when I did the fitness test, you had to run 1.5 miles, and you had to do it for time. And so towards like 05, 06, and 07, my average finish time for 1.5 miles was around like 7:40 to 8 minutes. So I was like, all right, I would do that. And then we do 2 minutes of sit-ups, 2 minutes of push-ups. And I would average about 150 to about 180 of each every time. So I would always score outstanding on the PRT, right? And that's all we got tested. And that's all I ever worked on. And so when I got out and we were doing the marathon stuff, I would go run. I didn't know that you're supposed to hydrate. I didn't know you're supposed to eat. I didn't know you're supposed to get good sleep. I didn't even know you're supposed to stretch. I would go like Saturday nights, I would be out eating and drinking and living my life. I would get up at 3 a.m., drive down to the marathon. Usually in Hawaii, we had the North Shore Marathon, the Honolulu Marathon. So we ran 2 a year. The North Shore Marathon is in North Shore, Haleiwa, Hawaii. And it's in July, which is the hottest time of the year to go run a marathon. And then the Honolulu is in December. I would run both of those.
Wow.
So every year. And I did a bunch of other training with some guys out there. But the first year I go run the Honolulu Marathon, my first time ever. I don't eat anything. I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I get dropped off in downtown Honolulu because it's kind of like everything's shut off, right? Mm-hmm. I don't bring water. I don't bring snacks. I don't eat breakfast. I go, I run. I refuse to stop at any water station while I'm running.
Why?
Because I thought you weren't supposed to stop. So I ran through every water station, right? It's humid. And if you've ever been to Hawaii,
yes,
in December, it's like 87 plus degrees. It's got like 85 to 90% humidity. It is brutal. And I would run these things and I would make it all the way to the end before I cramped up. And then I was like, oh, I'm getting better, because that's how I gauged fitness. I was like, I made it to mile 24 before I cramped. So if I just run more, I'll make it more.
Oh, man.
And then I would finish the marathon. So I ran my first marathon in sub 5 hours. I did in like 4 something, right? With minimum training and everything.
Wow, that's crazy. With minimum training?
Yeah, like I was just running like 2-3 miles a day, just my normal stuff.
Okay, so no structured training plan.
No,
you just kind of just did it. Yeah,
I was just winging it.
Yeah, I kind of had an idea that I figured you were winging it,
shooting it from the hip, right? And so I ran it, and there's like a local running group in Hawaii, and the guy grabs me and he knows like my friends, he knew some family members, and he goes, dude, you just did a sub like 5-hour marathon your first try. And I go, yeah. And he's like,
with minimal training.
Well, we didn't even talk about it, but I was like super sick. And then the guy's like, all right, I think you should come train with us. And I was like, what do you train on? And he's like, it's like Honolulu, which is a little bit ways from where I'm in Mililani, right? It's like a 30-minute drive. I was like, can't do it. It's too far. He's like, what? I was like, it's too far. I can't drive that far. So he goes, you need to train. And so he started talking me into it. And so every day he would like message me about stuff, right? So eventually, we got together and we did a bunch of like build-ups. We actually started working and running and, learning that you had to do structures.
Right.
But he wasn't a coach or anything. So I was just like, I was copying what he was doing, which wasn't always the best thing. And I was reading magazines and books. So I started consuming knowledge, right? I was like, I need to know how to get better at this. And so I started doing my own training plan where like I would run. I thought volume was key. And we used to think volume was key back in the day. So I'd actually do for marathon training, I would put in 40 to 50 miles a week in training runs.
That's a lot.
Every week. And I just thought you had to do that. And then I was doing a ton of sit-ups, a ton of flutter kicks. And keep in mind, I'm not stretching. Like I have not once done any stretches, warm-ups, cool-downs, right? I haven't done any of dieting. I refuse to diet, right, at any point. So I'm drinking a lot. I'm eating whatever I want. I'm just having a good time and I'm out there running. Sure, I'm losing weight, but I'm not really like the best. Like if you see me now, if you know me now, I don't look anything like I used to look. And I've
seen some old pictures of you.
Yeah.
You definitely look a lot different.
And I do that for about 3 years, and then I dislocate my kneecap.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in a marathon, like I did the North Shore Marathon, I'm out like mile 18. I dislocate my kneecap. It just pops.
How did you do it?
I was just running.
Oh, you're just running?
I was just running down. There's a straightaway strut. At the backside of Haleiwa, towards the airport right there. I'm just running down it, more like by Wailua right there. Boom, pops. So I'm like, I can barely walk on it. I'm like limping, and the guy's like, there's no cart to drive you back. You have to walk back. And I was like, well, fuck, I might as well just finish.
Yeah.
I was like, I've already come this far. So I just turned around and finished the marathon.
With a dislocated
I just walked the marathon, the rest of it.
Oh my gosh.
And so they take me back, and then
That's crazy.
Yeah. I go back, and the doctor goes, I got to go see a doctor. He puts a brace on me and stuff, and he's like, this can't be good. I was like, yeah, I don't think it's supposed to pop out, right? And so he goes, maybe you should do some cross training. It's okay. I was like, what is that? And he goes, have you tried like triathlons or things like that? And I go, no. And he goes, what do you got to do? And he goes, you swim, you bike. I could do that. Okay. So I go and do a triathlon. I go and borrow my friend's bike, right? It is a like Huffy, like from Walmart. It's like $80 maybe. And I go I buy like some tights, and I go do my first triathlon, which is like a 10-man, so it's like a small one. It's a 750-meter swim. It was followed by like a 12-mile bike ride and then a 3K run, or 5K run, 3-mile run. And I'm the last one out of the water, which is no surprise to anybody, right? I'm the last one out of the water. I was the second one off the bike, and I was like top 5 in the run. And they were like, that's amazing, right? And I did it with like a child's bike, essentially. Like it was not even helping. Like, so I get, again, like, a bunch of people who are in the community, they see me, they're like, dude, you got to get a bike. And I was like, all right, where do you get a bike from? And they're like, so they start talking to me about bikes, right? So I go and I get special fitted from, you go to like, you can get Trek, Specialized. There's a million, like the bike world is very expensive, right? So I go and get a special bike, get a Trek. And I actually had to keep it pretty cheap because at the time I didn't have like excess income to spend because I'm traveling, going to do things. And I go and I buy a Trek and I spend like almost $500 on a bike, right? Which is the cheapest one I could have got, right? And I don't even put the customized, you're supposed to put tri handlebars on it so you can lay down. They're extra $300. I said no. So just like, give me regular handlebars. And then I do it, and then I do the next 10 men coming up, right? And I'm the last out of the water again. Top 5 on the bike, top 5 on the run.
Yeah.
And so it's a little, so they're like, man, you got to get better at swimming. I was like, I get better at swimming. So swim. I don't want to swim. Right. So I was like, it's something else. So I was doing started doing that, and then we're going through it. And then I randomly meet somebody, and they're like, have you ever done an off-road run, like a trail run? I go, no. And they said, okay, show up to this place, right? It's like, show up to this park, and it's like the Hawaiian Nature Center. I'm like, okay. And you got to be there early because they're only going to let you like top 50 go. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And you're going to run on the mountain on the backside of the Hawaiian Nature Center. I said, okay, cool. We go. It's a 35-mile uphill race on a mountain. Oh, by the way, you need to bring your own water. You need to bring your own food because you could die out there. They forget to tell you the fine night riding right there. So we go and we do it, and we finish. Like we took a buddy with me. 2 of us go. We go and finish. Afterwards, we eat McDonald's. We don't even care, really, as we go there and do it. But we actually had one of the better times than anyone else out there from the run.
Interesting.
And it crushed me, though. I was like so crushed.
Yeah.
And so they were like, dude, you should do this. And I said, I'm gonna do all of this. So the next full year, starting the calendar year, everything like kicked off, right? As soon as the Honolulu Marathon's over in December, January, the new season kicks off. So I'm gonna commit to trying to win. So every day I would go and run, bike, and swim every day, right? Or some kind of combination depending on how work would let me. So I would go and run 5 to 7 miles almost every other day, right? And I would go and bike 20 to 30 miles or go swim for an hour. It just depended on what time was.
Right.
Unless it was the weekend. On the weekends, I would get up at 3 a.m. and I would bike from Mililani, right, to Waimea Bay, which is it's like from the central Oahu to Pipeline North Shore, where you see everyone surf at. I would go and bike over there. I would get flat tires. I would have to deal with all that stuff, but it would be about a 45-mile bike ride.
Wow.
But then I would get off my bike. I would go swim in Waimea Bay, and my kids and my wife would come. My wife would take my bike home, and I would run home.
Wow.
And I would do that on the weekends because I thought that's how you train. And over time, I blew out a muscle in my back, right? My lower back. Wound up straining a muscle, so I had to go see the doctor again. The same guy who set my kneecap. I go back, and it's like within a year, right? And he goes, "Duh, this shouldn't be." He's like, "You hurt your back," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm in pain. I know I hurt my back." He goes, "Dude, you gotta do something different. You gotta keep mixing it up." And he's like, "What?" We walked him through everything. And he goes, "There's no way you should be doing this much volume." And I was like, "No, you're fine." And I was like, "What do you know?" Right? So I go back, and then I qualify for some ultra endurance runs, and I get them all going, right? I wind up breaking my ankle during my ultra endurance run. So I go out for a 100-mile run in the mountains, right? I get to like mile 35, 37, somewhere around there. I fall, and I hit my ankle on a rock.
Oh.
Right away, I knew something was wrong. But like, this is like a big deal. Like, these races it's hard to get into these races, right? It took me a while to qualify. I fall, something's wrong, so I just keep going. I think it's spraying. I'm like, no big deal. I get them to wrap it at a first aid tent during one of the loops, right? I wind up finishing the race, right? And I can't walk. Like, I get done, and I just like, it's my body. The next day, I'm like, I go to the doctor because my ankle is like the size of like a watermelon, and it's like black and blue. And I go in there, and the guy goes, "Look, dude, it's the same guy. I've seen him like multiple times now."
This is at the minimum the third time.
Yeah. I've seen him for other little aches and pains as you get kind of going, right? And he's like, "Dude, your ankle's so messed up." And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "What happened?" He goes, "We fell, and there's other little things going on like that, right?" And he goes, you need to do something different. And I go, okay, what do you recommend? Right? You're a doctor. What do you recommend? He goes, have you ever done CrossFit? I was like, I don't even know what CrossFit is. He's like, yeah, well, it's like, he's trying to explain to me. He's like, it's this constantly varied methodology that is going to cause you to weight train and do all this cardio and all these things, right? I'm like, okay, well, where do you do it at? And he's like, in a gym. It's like, you know, you have a coach. And I was like, I don't like 24. And he goes, I'm telling you. He's like, look it up. And he's like, yeah, I think you should invest. And he tells me his place, right? He's on like a different side of the island. So basically, if you're, you know, an OC right now, it'd be like if I was in HB and he was in Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa is a little too far for me to drive, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I need somewhere close. So like, I have to actually wait 6 months because I need my ankle to heal up.
Right.
So I wait 6 months and I Google and look up everything, mm-hmm. right? And so I didn't know what to expect. And so what I did is I started doing all the open workouts because I thought that's how you got fit. And I just would do the open workouts with no training, with no understanding of anything.
What year is this?
This is like beginning of 2015.
2015. Yeah. Okay. That was a rough year in the open.
No, I did all the opens prior to that from 2012.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
I Googled all of them. I printed them out and I did them every day, one by one.
Wow. Since 2011.
Yeah, since the first open. So I could only find the first open. Okay. And I was like, so 2011. So I just did that. And I thought that's what I was like, I don't need to go to CrossFit gym. Look at this. It's free. It's online.
Do the workouts.
These idiots give me their free workouts. Yeah. Right? So I get the workouts and I start doing them in my backyard. Right? And I do that. So like it took about, you know, I got busted up in January. So April, May. So around May, right? Like April, I'm healthy. I'm starting moving again because mm-hmm. I'm restless, right? So I started doing that all through the month of April into the month of May. Okay. I am smoked, right? Like I'm like, I don't know. So I decide to go and try a CrossFit gym. Mm-hmm. Walk in day one. Cool. Like I'm here. Like I know one person there and she's who brought me. It's like my wife's friend.
Okay.
All right. I go into a warehouse on the backside of the industrial district of Honolulu, or of the west side of Kapolei right there. I was like, no, there's no way there's a gym here. I was like, this looks like a container. I'm going to get just beat up, right? I go in there and there's a gym, right? It's the smallest gym I've ever seen in my life. And there's like 20 people just like shirtless rolling around. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what's happening. I walk in day one and they go, have you ever done CrossFit before? I go, no. And then I was like, but I kind of know some stuff now. And the guy goes, okay. And he goes, we're going to do thrusters. You know what that is? I go, yeah, squat to press. I got you. So I did it right there. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, we're going to do running. I was like, got that. Cool. So we did the first workout that we ever did was like 21, 15, 9 thrusters at 135.95. And we did a 400 meter run. And then right after that, he took a break and they were like, now we're going to do handstand push-ups. And I was like, I've never done that. He goes, you just flip upside down.
You just flip upside down.
Yeah, no scale. I was just like, okay, try, see what I got. Put my hands down to flip, almost die. Like I can't even support myself. And he goes, we'll just do push-ups for you then. I was like, thank you. Like,
thank you.
Do day one, I was like, this is insane. I don't know if I can come back. And then they're like, they invite me back, of course, right? Of course, I go back. I try it. I'm like, man, I'm so beat up. So I do that for a week, and I was like, it's kind of a drive for where I live. And I go, there's got to be one closer. So I look at one closer, and I'm like, I'm on the fence. I'm like, I don't know if I should do this, right? Mm-hmm. They offer me a free intro, a Saturday free intro. They have a free class. You go in, you try it out. Okay, can't be bad. I walk in, and we do jump rope essentials and some just a real basic stuff, right? And I like the way the coach talked and the way he explained things. I appreciated the way he could take his time and like walk me through different scales. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'm going to sign up and try, because they had a fundamentals class, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm going to try this, right? You would go to a class at night, right? Monday through Friday, and you just did your class, right? So I went in there and I did all these things and I signed up, did my fundamentals, went through it, and I met all the coaches, and I took the time to actually like learn how to get better, right? The problem with doing the fundamentals that with a class setting like that is that for someone like me who walked in and picked up things naturally, like barbell work, mm-hmm. things like that, I walked in day one and I could snatch 135, right? And they're like, oh, you must know what you're doing. You'll be fine. No, I just knew how to muscle snatch 135.
You just had some natural ability. Right. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's like
I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they left me alone. They're like, he must be a weightlifter. And I was like, I've never weightlifted a day in my life. Yeah. They're like, what? And I was like, yeah. And so like, I was learning on the fly as we went, but I was like getting addicted, and I could mm-hmm. appreciate that the guys who ran the gym would take the time to break things down with me. I did that for about a year until my gym changed hands from ownership. Or actually, the head coach left, right?
Okay.
And there's a schism, coaches left, things like that.
Right.
And then they kind of did something that was unheard of at the time. And remember, this is like 2016, right?
Yeah.
The end of 2016, 2017.
Yeah. Still the early days.
So it's still kind of early. They promoted a female head coach. Like she was going to be the head coach, right? None of us knew her, right? We'd never met her. So that caused even more rift in the gym, right? And there was a little beat back to that because like female coaches weren't very dominant in the CrossFit space around that time necessarily, right? And so like I met her. She's I met her right away. Her name was Pana. She came in and she was like a hard ass, and she was like, dude, you're gonna fix your stuff now. And that's not what you want to hear as an athlete, right? Like you don't want someone to video you doing the wrong reps and then show you those videos because you think you're moving really good and getting good times and go, look how crappy your ring dips are. Look how bad your pull-ups are. Like, why don't we fix this? Because, you're like, don't hold me back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how you feel. And so she came in and had that mindset of like, I'm going to change the way you move and you're going to move efficiently. And then from there, we'll get you really fit. And it took me a couple months to buy into it.
Right.
And when I did, I started to see instant result. Like I started seeing really good results.
Yeah.
Right. And then she's like, and then like 6 months goes by of that, and the owner decides to sell the gym. And so she decides to buy the gym, right? And she makes it known, and she goes through her process of buying it and separating from the big affiliate that we were with, right? And so there's a schism again. She goes, I need people to coach. And so I was like, what do you have to do to coach? And he goes, yeah, you just show up and you intern, and we'll get you a level 1 and all that stuff. And I go, I can do that. So I showed up and started coaching. And then I really got a passion for it. And from there, it kind of carried me forward to where I am today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's such a great story. I've never actually I've heard bits and pieces of your story before, but I've never actually heard the entire progression of you getting out of the military, going to marathons, and then to triathlons. And then I didn't realize how many injuries you had back to back to back, and then going right into CrossFit.
Yeah. I mean, the marathon stuff was fun. I thought that's how you stayed fit. I thought that was fitness in a nutshell.
Yeah, I believe that too. Even when I was doing CrossFit, I didn't see CrossFit when I first started as like even the best fitness program. I just saw it as like, hey, this is just a way for me to lift weights faster and get a good combination. Like, I saw CrossFit almost as like my conditioning. Yeah. In addition to like just the bodybuilding I was doing. So I only do CrossFit like 2-3 times a week and do regular gym workouts.
Well, that was my goal. I mean, when I first started, like I wanted to go back to running. Like I was doing a lot of running things. I just got my maniac status. So to get a maniac status, you have to run so many marathons a year. You have to do like a back-to-back marathon. Right. There's a lot of things that you have to do, and I got my status there, and I wanted to keep it. Okay. And I was like, I'll just do CrossFit to help cross-train, and I'll go back to this. And I was like, oh, I can't do both. It didn't even have a conversation with me about things because I had to bike. Like I would sit on a stationary bike. I would work from 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would go home, right? Because I had young kids at the time. So I'd have to watch my kids while they napped. I would set up my bike and we'd watch TV and things like that. And I would stationary bike from 2:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. when my wife got home. And I would get off my bike and I would go for a run and come back at 7 p.m. I would eat dinner, go to bed, and do it all over again every day. Like it was so rough on my body and but I thought that's what you had to do. Yeah. Because that's the way they trained. And I was like all about it, and I would dive into it. That it was almost unhealthy in terms of the way I attacked it. Right. You know what I mean? And like I said, I refused to eat good. I didn't know you could eat good, right?
You didn't know that would help.
Oh, you're supposed to have protein? What? No. Protein makes you fat. I'm not eating protein. What? You're supposed to you're supposed to drink a ton of water while you do these things? No. Right? No, like we'd be on the bike drinking Cokes, right? For the energy. We'd be eating candy bars because we needed energy to climb the hills. Like I was like, yeah, we're going to be fine out here. Like I'm burning calories. Duh. Like,
duh, I need this.
I didn't realize that you should be doing these things. You know what I mean? A lot of injuries that I had from the cycling world and from like the triathlon world were from like not doing mobility. Like I didn't know, the first time I hurt my back and I went in, I strained like one of my muscles, like I think I strained my QL on my lower back right there, which is super painful to strain, right? And it caused some discomfort around like my psoas and things like that. Okay. So they send me to physical therapy and I go in there and the first thing they do is have me foam roll. I'd never seen a foam roller before, right? Like they're so common now that you guys can laugh at it. But at the time, there's kind of a new technology. And
yeah, I remember the first time I saw someone foam rolling too, and I think I laughed.
The girl put me on the foam roller, and I cried. Like a grown man on a foam roller with this little Asian lady, and she's rolling me out. I'm talking like 55-year-old Asian lady with glasses, grabbing my leg and rolling it out, and I'm crying.
That would be terrible.
I'm doing it because I've never done it. And she goes, "If you just stretch, you wouldn't have this problem." And I was like, "What?"
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Like it's like the misconception I had, and like doing those things, like you want to get better. And then when you got into CrossFit, and like the concept that hit me in like 2017ish, like or 2016 at the end, right? Whenever I actually met a coach and started working with a coach, and she goes, "You need to move better." And that just like was a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you mean move better? What do you know?
I just need to move faster.
I just need to go." I was like, "I'm winning every workout." Like no one. When I first started my first year at CrossFit, they had a running joke. I would go and do the morning CrossFit class, and I would go and do the afternoon CrossFit class. And so they would write AM Danny, PM Danny, and see who would win.
Who would win? Which one won?
Yeah, it was like 50-50 depending on the workout.
Depending on the workout. Okay.
Yeah, and they had a running tally, and they would run. It was like a running joke for a year.
That's so funny.
Until like I got a coach, and she was like, "No, we're not doing this anymore.
We're not doing this."
She'd pick and she would be very like steadfast with me about that. But I needed that kind of structure because I was so good at endurance work, metabolic conditioning, like you name it. I was really good. I was really medium at like weightlifting, and I was really poor at gymnastics. And I didn't realize that you needed to do all three really good to get very far, right? And so in my mind, I'm like, I'm winning the workout. I was like, I'll learn how to do a muscle up, duh.
I'll figure it out.
I just have to get stronger, right? And
I just have to do it.
Right. Same with the lifting. I was like, if I just keep lifting, I'm going to get stronger. That's what bench pressing is. You just keep lifting.
You just keep doing it.
Oh, there's technique. Oh, there's skill. Oh, there's these things.
There's progressions.
And it's like, taking a step back, I actually got really good. And it took me, and once I started getting better at it, it took me a year to actually buy in and learn the dieting of the period. Like, oh, there's nutrition now. Like, oh my God, there's all these things. And once I started buying into it, I actually was able to get pretty far in the I was doing pretty well in the CrossFit world.
Right.
Once I was very dialed in. It was a lot of work for sure, but it was very rewarding to get those things going.
Yeah.
So like it did help to like have someone to actually take a step in and go, you need to stop doing what you're doing and do something else. Very similar to what we have at Red Wolf. If you've ever met Caitlin, right? She's very good at going, hey, you're really good at this, but you suck at this. So maybe you should start working on the thing you suck at. And you're like, yeah, I'd rather skip that day.
No, I like how you shared that story because I was in a similar boat too, where I think we were both very ignorant on what actually worked, even though, we just kind of brush off to the side things like nutrition or hydration and be like, because I did the same thing, especially when I started CrossFit, man. Like I would go eat a burrito or a Chipotle, or I would eat In-N-Out all the time and drink beer a ton on the weekends and be like, well, I'll be fine. Like I need the calories. I need the calories. Like, I'm 22, I can handle it. And then had I've actually got all those facets dialed in, especially outside of the gym, I think I would have gone a lot further.
I mean, one of my favorite things to like look back at and tell you that this does matter is like I don't even know what year it was, but I was 23, right? I was 23. I'm 23 years old. I go out and I run a marathon. I run the Honolulu Marathon, and I finish in 3 hours and 37 minutes.
Wow, that's fast.
I ate no breakfast. I had no water, and I stopped for 2 water breaks on that thing, right? Mm-hmm. Now imagine if I actually knew what nutrition was and I actually knew how to fuel myself, how much faster and better I would have been in that marathon.
Exactly.
Right.
And this is why we all need coaches, right?
Seriously. And like I was running like a half, like I knew I was going to PR because I did the year or like 3 months prior, right, we were doing all the workout. I was running my half marathon in like less than an hour and a half. Like I was cranking out 13 miles in less than an hour and a half, like easy.
That's crazy.
And I still had room to go and do other things.
I believe you.
So it's like, imagine like doing those things. So when you hear those things, like when I hear it now, and I'm like, you don't understand. Like, oh, I get it. Like, yeah.
That's crazy.
For sure.
Yeah. I think if it can sum up this podcast just in like a few sentences, it would just be like, there's a big difference between what you personally think it takes and what it really takes, and the importance of having a guide or a coach with you. Because I think you and I both have progressed massively after we started working with a coach and getting some external feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
I would definitely say that's something to look into. Like if you don't think you need it, you probably need it. Like, honestly.
I know. And I've learned this lesson the hard way more than once. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Danny. Any final words you want to say before we wrap things up?
No, that was it.
That was such a great story, man. So great to hear that. So glad we got to document it so everyone can hear it. Very excited to share this with everyone.
Edit it.
Awesome. Friends, if you found value in any of our discussions about fitness, nutrition, and mindset, I do have a small request. Please share this podcast with someone you know who has a passion for these topics. Maybe they're just starting out with their fitness journey, or perhaps they're a pro and they're just looking for a few new insights. After all, we learn better, grow faster, and reach our goals when we do it together. So share it now with a friend. That would mean the world to us, and give someone the gift of knowledge and motivation. Thanks so much for your support. How do we wrap things up again? Oh, yeah. Here we go. Follow us on social media at Red Wolf CrossFit, and feel free to send us your questions there. Until next time, good luck, have fun, and nailed it.
Oh, that noise.
I forgot Jose is going to add the actual outro. Oops.
Well, it's fine. Now we get some to edit. Yeah.